Now, tell me something about our neighboring islands, such as St. Martin, Saba, Statia or St. Eustatius, St. Bart's. What is being done to improve relations with them? For example, we have the issue of border protection, who can fish, in whose waters, and so on. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Well, in terms of what is being done, I think nothing formal in terms of, as I outlined with Canada, it's not as if we've advanced the plan to somehow move forward. I think that what we have with those islands that you've identified over the years is a very real people-to-people diplomacy in that sense, people-to-people contact, which is really the best form, because everybody I know in St. Kitts and Nevis has somebody in St. Martin, has traveled there, has some contact. Saba, Statia, similarly. I go to Statia and I'm amazed at the number of people from Nevis who are living there.
Right.
So the reality is, I think that connection is there. You mentioned the issue of border security. That's a very important issue. I have not been privy to discussions on that, but more than likely the Prime Minister, as Minister of National Security, would have. I do know that we are trying to work out fisheries, maritime boundary arrangements with the Dutch islands, and I think that some work was done on that before our coming into office, and the expectation would be that that work would continue to a successful conclusion. What I can say, Lesroy, is that these islands and the people of those islands are important to us. We have always, long before there was formal talk of integration, we had integration with those islands. And I don't know about you, but I know that
My first trip was to St. Martin.
Well, that's your first
I
trip.
remember with my mother.
But I was about to say that I've eaten a lot of food that came in barrels from St. Martin, because I had an aunt that lived there, and that was the best thing when that barrel came. You had, I don't know if it was French food or Dutch food, but you had food.
Right.
And we ought not to forget that we have had that shared history.
Right. Now, there's much ado about you being in the federal cabinet and still being in the NIA cabinet. You're a very privileged man.
So what is that privilege?
Being in two cabinets.
But
now, can you speak to the benefit or the benefits of being in both cabinets?
I would put it this way. I am myself a little bemused that there's ado, because I didn't write the Constitution. Indeed, the Constitution was written a very long time ago. And what is of particular surprise to me is that much of those making the noise were in office for nearly 20 years and therefore had ample opportunity to create a constitution of their own liking. It must speak to the seriousness of any commentator that, having had the power for 2 decades to change the framework, you did not. But after you demit office, you start complaining about things that are permissible and completely allowable under that framework. That tells me you're not serious. Because if you had a serious concern, then you had ample opportunity. 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not even a comma in the Constitution has been changed since we assumed independence 32 years ago. And of those, the former regime was there for 20. So it gives you a very real sense that those who are making the clamor were never serious about this. Benefits, I think it allows me a bird's eye view of what's happening, both in Nevis and in St. Kitts. It gives me a much stronger voice in the federal cabinet to speak to matters that impact the people of Nevis.
Sure.
I think that for a long time we had laws, regulations, rules, policies being articulated at the federal level that impact the people of Nevis as a constituent element of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but which the people of Nevis had no input.
Right.
And I think that now changes.
Right.
The Premier is there, I am there, and when the Prime Minister, anybody else says something, I say, hey, wait a minute. That is going to have a bad effect on the people of Number 9, whom I represent, and so the voice that is so necessary is now in the federal Parliament. You say it's a privilege. It's a lot of work. But I'm grateful to the people because I want to make it pellucid that I was not selected for these roles. I was elected. I went to the people. I said to the people, here I am. Give me an opportunity. And the people did so. And once you have that mantra, that, how should I put it, that armor around you of the people who have empowered you to be there, I'm not too fussed about the noise. The rest
Well,
is just noise.
most of the noise I hear, Minister Brantley, and I'll be quite frank with you, is that they seem to be sort of concerned that you are collecting double salary.
Well, if you're doing double jobs, you shouldn't collect double salary. This is the thing that I don't understand. You give me 2 jobs to do. And then the people, not you, the people give me 2 jobs to do. And then people start to complain. I am a little confused about that particular complaint, and I'll tell you why. When I was leader of the opposition in the federal parliament, I got a salary. And I also received a salary as deputy premier. There was no noise then. Nobody said a word. And so, for me, it's puzzling that moving from that situation where I'm now a full minister in both parliaments, in both cabinets, I'm sorry, that you now hear this loud clamor. Well, what is it? Is it a clamor about the amount or the principle? Because if it's the principle, then that clamor should have existed now for the past 8 or 9 years that I've been in parliament, because I've always received something here and something there.
Yes.
And others have tried. It is not my fault that the people have rejected them. When Hensley Daniel was deputy premier, he ran in 2010 whilst deputy premier for a federal seat. The people did not hire him. Right? And so we need to be conscious of these things. The Honorable Patrice Nisbet, my friend, he has run, I believe now, nearly a dozen times and failed to get into the Nevis Island Assembly. That is why when he comes to the Federal House, he debates Nevis matters, because he longs to be there, but the people have not hired him to be there. And he has done that whilst being a federal minister. So it is clear to me that others have had those ambitions to represent the people of Nevis in the 2-4. It has not worked out for them because the people have rejected them. The people have said to me, Sheriff, we want you.
Yes.
So why then is there the complaint? I don't understand. I think, again, noise.
Okay. Much ado about nothing.
Much ado about nothing. Lots of heat, but little light.
Okay.